Awesome. Well, right on the dot, we'll get started. Um, Welcome everyone, for those who are joining us online and for those joining us in the future. Um, I hope we really hope you get value out of this session this afternoon. Um, I'll start with acknowledgement of country. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. A little bit of webinar housekeeping. This session is being recorded and will be shared with you along with additional support resources. So if you're going in there or I want to really share this with my team, you should receive that email from us within about 24 hours. Also, this is an interactive webinar. So if you have any questions for Heather or for Life Skills Go, feel free to put that in the chat. We have our team online who will also be taking questions and answering those. Finally, at the end of the session, we'll be circulating a survey in the chat, and we'd really appreciate if you could take a few moments to fill that out. It really helps us improve these sessions and deliver more of these to you. Perfect. Awesome. Heather, I rather than reading out that bio, I think what I'd really love to ask you is, I can see that you've had a very diverse career from right from Kimberley to inner city London, and then now in regional New South Wales. What originally inspired your passion for inclusive education?
Uh, Thanks, Ishita. Yeah, it certainly has been a really interesting career, probably more so at the beginning, with lots of movement and traveling and things. So I've always had a really strong sense of justice and equality. I think I've always been that kind of person. When I was studying, I went to an SSP school to see is this something that I'd like to do. And after visiting, I decided no, that's not quite what I want to do. And I really wanted to support students within mainstream schools. So, I took on an advocacy sort of subject when I was at university, and I guess it just stemmed from there. At university, I was offered an opportunity to move to the Kimberley in my last year and start teaching. And as it turned out, I was already looking at positions prior to that. So everything
Mm.
just sort of fell into place there.
I love that. I love how like everything just falls eventually where it's supposed to be. That's awesome. And so I imagine you've worked with a lot of diverse communities and have had key lessons that, sort of stayed with you about creating environments. What has sort of been like one or two key lessons that are off the top of your mind from such what with creating environments where students can belong and thrive?
I always think everything is possible. And relationships are really key. Relationships with students, with your other staff members, with families in particular.
Mm.
I think that's the real key ingredient to ensuring students can succeed and thrive. I think creativity as well and being flexible are the main sort of areas. If you can create something in a different way and deliver it in a different way, you're almost bound to, engage students.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's perfect. I'll remove you and get the bio out of the way. And we'll dive a little bit more and learn a bit about Bradfordville Public School. So I would love if you could give us like a high level around what your community is like, your student enrollment numbers. Yeah, we'll start from there.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Goulburn is Bradfordville Public School is located in Goulburn, which is an hour from Canberra, about 2 hours from Sydney. We're a mid-sized school of about 320 students. We do have a population that can fluctuate. So some years we get to 330, 335, and then some years we drop down to like below 310, but we hover around that area. We've got 13 classes at present, 6% EALD students and 13% Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. We have a real variety of socioeconomic backgrounds with our families,
Mm.
high percentage of disadvantaged students, strong culture of sport and the performing arts. Um, so that's sort of, yeah, where we sit. We don't particularly draw farming families. So
Mm.
we're just in that regional country sort of area. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And what kind of well-being initiatives do you have in place at the moment at Bradfordville?
So look, I've been at Bradfordville for 6 years now, which is the longest I've been at any school. So we've really built up a really strong wellbeing core initiatives, I
Mm.
guess. So we have daily breakfast club. We do run PBL. We have peer support. We have buddy system like across kindergarten and year 6. My role as the assistant principal inclusive education is above our allocation of assistant principals, but that's because the school sees the need for a role like mine to be made permanent in the school. So we've been really fortunate with that. We have
Mm.
a high percentage of SLSOs in our school to
Mm.
support student wellbeing. We go above and beyond, so use a lot of our equity funding to fund that. We do have a behaviour intervention group and a school chaplain who runs a lot of different programs responding to different student needs, group needs. So we have her a couple of days a week. And we also have a therapy dog.
I love that.
Yeah, the therapy dog is my dog Cece, and
Oh, yeah.
we adopted her from the pound originally just as a pet. And then
Mm.
after a few years, realised she was a very, very personable dog. So in 2022, her and I did the training and have continued that ever since. So she's quite a popular young lady around the school. And yeah, she gets out there in the mornings for attendance, and, everybody gets to see her in the morning. She greets them all at the gate. And throughout the day, she comes to the behaviour intervention, or she comes to intervention play. Or individual students. So she does get a lot of walks throughout the
Mm.
day as well. So
That's perfect. That sounds like a very happy dog.
yeah, she loves it.
Beautiful. And how long has your school been using Life Skills Go, Heather?
Look, we did a trial in term 4 last year and
Mm.
then decided to go ahead. So we've really only been using it for 2025. So it's just on 12 months, but whole school started at the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Mm. That's perfect. And with the trial, what were you when you first started looking at Life Skills Go, what were you hoping to achieve or test through the platform?
Well, we had been using another program for a few years, and we had a lot of feedback to say that, look, the lesson preparation was not good, and it required too much of staff to actually find the resources and get everything together. So there was that aspect, and there was also we didn't have data
Mm.
on what was actually happening. Like, you can have behavior data, that's one thing, but we didn't have a lot about the students' emotions and their ability to regulate and how they actually feel about coming to school. So that
Mm.
was a real key that was missing from our current practice and programs. So
Mm.
those were the two things that we were really looking for: data and ease of lessons.
Wow, and I imagine when you say that you came into that space with like no wanting to know how students are coming to the school, was there anything that came up in just first couple of weeks or months of using the platform for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, it revealed new information about students, and the biggest thing it revealed was that our students were not very emotionally literate, and we needed to do a little bit more work around teaching that. So then we would get to more accurate data, because it was a bit of a novelty at first. I'll
Mm.
admit that in the first term, that those check-ins, we don't feel as though our data was as accurate as what it could be, just
Mm.
because it was new. And so, yeah, we were able to, staff took on the check-in really quickly. That was easy because it linked in with our role on School Bites. And we had always speculated things about what we thought was happening, but I guess until we started delving into it, then more was revealed through those check-ins.
Yeah, that makes no, that's perfect. And I imagine when you say that the staff took it on like quite quickly, were there any particular insights from your team? Anything you can remember to go, your staff came to you and you're like, now I can do this, or I found this with my data?
Um, Nothing
Sorry.
that stands out in particular,
Mm,
but one thing, like they would, I guess, it's information that we had never collected before.
mm,
Um, so it was certainly showing patterns for sometimes, like if the kids had a different teacher that
mm,
day, then we'd quickly discover who was not happy about that.
mm,
And those kids who, were fine with it, their data stayed fairly steady, but it revealed information like that.
mm,
But mostly, uh, I guess at first it just didn't show probably, it really just revealed that kids needed
yeah.
emotional literacy education. And when we first started, the
Mm,
lessons, we did the core lessons to start, but we
mm,
didn't focus on teaching the lessons weekly or trying to get through that. The focus was
mm,
on getting
mm.
the check-ins done, which was the recommendation from
Yeah.
Life Skills. So we
Mm,
did follow that. That implementation
mm,
guide
mm,
is super helpful and very accurate. Like
mm,
you need to listen to that because you guys know how it
mm,
works so that it, in terms of, trying to go in too hard, doesn't work.
mm.
Gently,
Yeah.
gently, get the data accurate, get the kids checking in every day. That was
Mm,
the first goal. Get it
yeah.
happening every day.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely spot on. And as you've mentioned, like we've worked with schools long enough to know that if you just throw like a platform at them, it's not going to work.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah,
So I
definitely.
think that whole concept of, and another thing I think schools came have been saying is, again, it's as you said, social emotional literacy is just like numeracy or anything else. It needs to be taught, and just identifying the need for that is, that's perfect. Perfect. And so, as you guys started getting more accurate check-ins, how do you find like, did you find that real-time information on rather than just going the post of like this incident has happened, pre of
Mhm.
that, this is how students are checking in. Did that started sort of helping your strategies as to how you inform your initiatives?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What we started to do was look at, within my team are the SLSOs. So we started to really look at, because everybody's sort of allocated to different classes, we looked at those check-ins specifically and identifying those students that are in overload
Mm,
or really, in that red zone, and doing that extra little, I saw that you checked in as worried this morning because of something at home. Can you tell me a bit more about that? And then we've started to document that within the system as well. And that certainly made us more aware of where things were at, what we might need to intervene and do, and what might be better for that student, especially to start that day.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's been super helpful. And I feel like we're progressively getting better at
Mhm.
responding to the data daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. And I imagine that would have involved a little bit of like classroom practices, formulating those. How'd you go doing that with your team?
So like how do we
So
actually implement that?
yeah, like daily check-ins and stuff, working with your team on making that more regular.
Yeah. So we had to, well, it's about setting it up so that
Mm,
all those relevant people have access to the
mm,
classes that they need. And then, it's just like in that, it's become more of a habit now. And it just, if it doesn't happen like in those first 10 minutes, I
mm,
say to them, just be flexible on it. When you get a chance in the morning, you can, because it's hard once the role is marked and the data's gone, you
mm,
have to actively go back and have a little check of it. And so a lot of them access it either through their phone or just get a laptop and do that and are able to respond that way. The ones that, where there's some alarm bells ringing, then I'm notified.
mm,
So that, because I find it quite hard too, because I'm often, in my role, on to the next thing straight
mm,
away in the morning. And I don't always get a chance to look at the whole school data.
mm,
However, that when I do, I find that very useful. But now I've sort of outsourced that because I'm
mm,
only one person. So I'm like, it's more helpful if the team
mm.
can, access that and have a look and check in with their specific classes. So,
Yeah, no, and that's perfect because um it like just distributing that responsibility kind of also gets the student the support in time. So
yeah.
that's perfect. Um and so do you think that now that you have this well-being data, it has changed or shaped the way you do your, let's say, your well-being team meetings or learning support meetings?
Uh, Definitely, it's still a work in progress. I think we've been really good at doing, say, end of term data.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly that's a big feature in exec meetings. We tend to do that mid-term and then end of term data. Um, well, and we use that and in learning support team meetings. So when a
Mm-hmm.
student is referred, one of the first things we do is let's look at that data. Let's see, what's happening then. How are they checking in? How are they feeling about themselves when they're here at school? And so that's definitely something we've done. I'm finding that staff aren't necessarily accessing reports themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They'll look at the data day to day, but we haven't got into a strong enough pattern or habit of looking at that data week to week on your own class, your stage or anything like that. So that is 100% in our goals for next year, embedding those reports and data so then, as stage teams and then as an exec team looking at a whole school, because I think it will reveal a lot more, as you know, when the smaller team look at things. And I love the stage report. I think it's probably one of my favorites because it shows individual students and over that period of time, their percentage of check-ins within each emotion category. And I think for me, when I look at those, that reveals more to me because I can see that, oh, actually, well, Jenny is checking in 20% of the time in overload. What are we doing to address that? So, and there might be things happening in stage teams,
Yeah.
but I'm not necessarily aware of that happening. So we just want to get into a more effective habit. So put it on the minutes, basically. Put it on
Yeah.
the minutes and make sure, that is part of every meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I imagine when Heather, when you said that, or certain child is in 20% emotional overload, that gives me a sense that now you're starting to trust the data. So you know that students are now more accurately checking in. How have you seen students grow in that social emotional literacy space since the time you guys started using Life Skills Go?
So we started with just the 6 core emotions.
Mhm.
And towards the end of term 1, we had some of our year 2 students
Mm,
suggesting that, oh, but we always feel energized. We need energized in there. So we started, which to us says that their emotional literacy is growing.
Mm,
So for term 2, across each stage, they chose their own set. So we limited it to about 12, I think, or,
mm,
thereabouts, 10,
mm,
12, so that there was 2 in each category, but broadening the emotional check-in literacy. So it was children had more option. So
mm,
that also helped too, because we had more accurate data that reflected, well, I'm not just happy, I'm actually
mm,
feeling really calm,
mm,
or I'm feeling proud. Um,
mm,
so that certainly required some teaching at the time, at the
mm.
beginning of term 2, and then we've kept the same ones that we changed it to for most of the year. Um, so certainly that revealed to us that students are becoming more emotionally literate
Mm.
because they're requesting. There's not the emotion that I feel up there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best thing because I feel like that's where okay, our teaching's actually getting where we want to get it.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think kids are becoming more in touch with and trying to recognize, well, how do I feel? And
mm,
why am I feeling that? So it makes them question
mm,
their own, when they go to mark that role, you can really see some of them start flicking through how do I really feel?
mm. That's perfect. And I think there's nothing better than students crafting their own emotion check-in template to go, this is what I want. So that's absolutely perfect. Have you seen any shift in the classroom culture or staff understanding of the students as a result of that?
Look, so my role is not specifically on a class. However, I run a small group
Mm,
for students with additional needs of all
mm,
sorts, often emotional needs. Um, and I've certainly seen a big shift there in the way the tolerance of one another,
mm,
um, the understanding of each other as well. I feel like the students are more connected.
mm,
Um, in our infants, the students still check in on the interactive whiteboard.
mm,
So each other might see if they're looking at the time. It's kind of done in a very casual sense in terms of when you arrive, you come and mark the roll. It's not everybody, watching
mm,
each other. And I just feel like there's more empathy towards each other. Yeah, the more that we've learnt about emotions and the brain
mm,
and what we need to actually cope and get back into that learning zone,
mm.
I feel like there's a greater empathy towards one another.
That's perfect.
Mm.
And yeah, I think we've got a lot more stuff coming out next year that can support your team as well in that space from reports. So that's
Yeah, terrific. I
that.
think it made the staff probably more curious too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, about, if they come to you with a problem
Mm,
at a student, you're sort of able to be like, well, let's have a look at that.
mm,
Is the data telling us the same thing? Yeah.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's perfect. And just a side question, has that have you had any parent-teacher moments where the data has strengthened that conversation?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's often a parent concern that might come.
Mm,
My child's really not liking school.
mm,
Um, they don't want to come, etc., etc. And so my first port of call is always now, oh look, you know how we do the check-ins? Let's have a look at that. And even when I'm on the phone to them, I can say, oh look, I'm just looking at their data, and
mm,
actually they're checking in with happy every day.
mm,
Um, let's talk more about this, about what else might be happening, because the information that I'm looking at here on the screen is not matching perhaps what is being said at home.
mm,
Um, and then sometimes I've found that too, the data or with parents that can um, I've triangulated before, so I've used it specifically, the report where you can get the wellbeing, behaviour, and attendance,
Mm-hmm.
and I use that as for an attendance conversation actually,
Yeah.
um, and that was excellent in sharing with the student and the
Mm-hmm.
parent at the same time to show um, check-in is actually quite good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and is there something happening the day before when you're having a day off or that kind of thing? But generally, yeah, that was really a good moment, and I was glad that I had just done some refresher training on the reports, so I was able to access it easily. Yeah,
Oh, that's perfect. And I think it's like, and we always say that I think schools have too much of data fatigue, but moments like these makes you go, okay, the reporting that the schools are now getting is steering the conversation. Otherwise, you'd be going in like 10 different places. But when you
yeah,
get
yeah,
that spot and you go, I think the conversation's going to go this way,
yeah,
have
yeah,
that targeted
definitely.
support.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. Beautiful. I think, Heather, I'm really curious because it sounds like you guys have a very solid foundation now. You're developing that further as well. What are you looking forward for like 2026 planning in terms of Life Schools Go and your school?
So we had external validation at our school this year.
Mm,
And in that wellbeing space, we were at sustaining and growing. And I
mm,
think we're actually in sustaining and growing previously, so
mm,
5 years ago. And what that really said to us was, well, what do we need to do to
mm,
actually, get into that space to become excelling?
mm,
Uh, and what is it that we want to do as a school as well? So
mm,
definitely triangulating that data
mm,
and using that a lot more, and especially around behavior as well. Like, I
mm,
think that the life skills, the behavior, attendance, connection
mm,
will be really useful as we move forward.
mm,
We want to embed those data practices into, regular, uh, reflective, and analyze, and then, have actions to move forward from our meetings.
mm,
We want to improve student voice. So,
mm,
in terms of the surveys, the new surveys with Life Skills Go, we haven't used them yet. We discussed
mm,
them after I did the webinar a few weeks back.
mm,
I talked about it in executive. So, that's something that we're going to do early next year.
mm,
Um, we want to improve staff wellbeing as
mm,
well. So, in our school over the years, we have done lots of trauma informed practice. We've done some choice theory and reality therapy. We
mm,
have had a change in staff. So, lots of the Life Skills Go lessons
mm,
cover a lot of choice theory and reality therapy as well. So,
mm,
lots of learning about the brain.
mm,
And we just feel like we need to maybe use those practices a little bit more with our staff so that we can have them feeling confident and well more often, I
mm,
guess. Yeah. Um, we have just rewritten a whole new scope and sequence for our curriculum, of
mm.
which Life Skills Go is embedded. So we're hoping that we will have more staff
Mm,
teaching the lessons on a weekly basis,
mm,
because it meets the curriculum as well. So
mm,
it's a bit like I know I spoke to you earlier about, we completed that survey. It told
mm,
us that staff certainly believe it's important to teach these skills, but we don't have time. So we've made it so that it is more of a curriculum. This is part of the curriculum. So we
mm,
are required to teach it. And then
mm,
part of my role will be to go and actually show how simple it is to access those lessons.
mm,
I think in teaching those lessons proactively, we will see a shift in the accuracy of our check-in data as well. Um, Parent involvement, we'd like to increase that by running a few workshops. We did sent out the letter that
mm,
Life Skills provided.
mm,
Uh, but we probably need to, draw them in a little bit more. So that will be a goal in 2026.
That's amazing, Heather. And I'm really looking forward as you guys embark on this journey. I think especially the point you made about how feedback from the staff has helped you guide like what the changes in the new scope and sequence should be, because they definitely want to make space for this, and your school now has enough data to go, yep, we make space for this. So that's absolutely perfect. Awesome. Well, last question I've got for you for this evening is we've got a lot of schools who start in term four, or they'll be looking at term one implementation. What would your advice be to school leaders who are just beginning on their journey towards like building a truly inclusive, data-informed culture of well-being in their school?
Okay, so I would 100% go with life skills advice. Start small.
Mm.
Have every student checking in once a day. Well, I think your advice is, 3 times a week. It's very easy to just get into the habit of doing it every day.
Mm.
With your role, it's just simple. Yeah, just start that happening. Teach those foundational lessons about the emotions, and make sure kids understand that the whole purpose for doing this check-in is because we care about you. I think that's was really good advice given from life skills, and I think that's probably the biggest advice I would stick with. And really focus on the wellbeing initiatives that you're already doing that tells you already know, you think that they're
Yeah.
working well,
Mm.
but just keep building on those, because quite often you'll find that the data will reflect that those initiatives are actually successful.
Mm.
And I just always question, what do I really want to know from my data? We're doing all these check-ins, but what do I really want to know as a classroom teacher,
Mm.
as maybe a stage leader, wellbeing leader, or the principal? Yeah, what is it that I want to actually know? Because I know if I want to become an excelling school in the wellbeing space, data is the key.
Mm.
And how I use that to inform my practice, which I think life skills provide some really good webinars on too. Brilliant webinars. The one with Ryder Tracy,
Mm.
that's yeah. So I think that life skills, you're well supported. It will give you the information that you need. You can proactively teach lessons
Mm.
easily. Like there is no preparation really. I get out some journals. That's it. That's all I have to
Mm.
do. I look at the lesson beforehand and think, oh yeah, yep. And I think once you've done it once, you sort of can pick it up quite easily.
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever smiled so much in a webinar. And it kind of reminds me of the department's QD AI approach, question data analysis inside. I feel like you've summed that up beautifully. Have a hypothesis, test it out, inform your strategies based on the data you get. So that's absolutely perfect.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, Heather, so much for joining us this evening and for volunteering your time for this. I know for a fact schools are going to find such great value out of what you've said today. And yeah,
Terrific. Thanks so much, Ishita. Thanks to Life Skills. We're really enjoying it.
and we're more than, it's our privilege to support schools like yours, Heather. So thank you so much. Have
Thanks,
a,
Ishita.
have a
Thank
beautiful
you.
evening. Bye.
Bye bye.